Hey, business building warrior, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. I'm your host, Jim, and this is an episode with a guest, one of our successful students who's building a beautiful business based on the model taught in the Proven Amazon course, found only at provenamazoncourse.com. Go check it out. So today, our guest is Kim. She is a full-time nurse, a mom, a grandma. She's got a lot going on. She's leading a very busy lifestyle, but she's been able to build a $20,000 a month sales business on Amazon at a very nice profit margins. And she's set to scale and grow very quickly because she's finding so many profitable products based on the systems she's learned from us. Her biggest challenge is just finding time to order them and get them sent into Amazon. So I helped her talk through and think through some of those challenges that she has today. She first discovered us. Well, I'll let her tell you about that. She had tried some other things that didn't work out, some other Amazon experts and some other groups she was in where she was just pouring money into processes that didn't work. She speaks very highly of this group, how friendly this group is, how helpful it's been. I'm talking about the Facebook group that you can join at silentjimdotcom. Of course, you can jump in there and meet 71,000 plus people from all over the world who are selling on Amazon, starting in many, many cases with no experience, no background in e-commerce or business at all, but building very successful businesses. You've heard hundreds of episodes on this program of people doing just that. That's what we do here. So she speaks very highly of this community and the things that she's learned. Some of the things you're going to hear us talk about today, if you're brand new to this podcast, I'm not going to leave you behind, I promise. If she starts using acronyms and other things you've never heard of, I do my best to pause from time to time. I do it a few times today on the episode and tell you what it is she's talking about. So when she says things like OA, RA, TA, or PRV, what are these things? We'll tell you what they are. So as you're listening to her story, if you feel like, hey, I don't know what that acronym is, I don't know what that tool is she just described, give us a couple minutes. I'll fill you in on what it is. And if there's anything that we did leave out, please leave a comment or a question near this video. If it's on YouTube, if you're listening to the podcast on your favorite podcast listening device or service right now, jump into our Facebook group, ask your questions there. More than numerous moderators, administrators, successful coaching students, coaches, we all hang out there and we help each other out all day, every day. So this is pretty basic level stuff for the most part, but there are going to be some acronyms. Just wanted to warn you there a little bit about that. She talks quite a bit about Keepa, which you will hear in her story. She tried to do Amazon for a few years before she discovered Keepa, and then things really took off once she got into Keepa. Keepa is a tool. We don't have a vested ownership stake in that tool. It's just a tool that does things that other tools can't do. We described that in the show today. There's a link in the show notes. You don't have to use our affiliate link if you don't want to. It's a tool that really helps Amazon sellers find profitable inventory in a unique way that we teach in the Proven Amazon course that no other tool can replicate. So wanted to throw that in there along with a lot of the other little lessons. That was one of the more important ones that stood out to me. Like I said, she's built a $20,000 a month business at this point. I think she'll be at 50 and then much higher very soon based on her trajectory. She's running at around a 22 to 25% net profit margin, just to be thorough there and make sure we share all the details of her numbers. And I think that is a good place to start to introduce Kim. One of the big decisions she's trying to make on the show today, maybe this is you, she's kind of doing it all herself out of her house right now. She shops online locally, or all of her online purchases come to her home. We talk through what's the next thing for her to do in her business. How can she begin to automate, free up some of her time while making more money? We talk about getting a virtual assistant through our Proven REPLENS VA program, PRV we call it. There's a link to all of that in the show notes. Proven REPLENS VA is where we train a virtual assistant to work just for you for $4 per hour. That's right. You pay them $4 per hour, and their full-time job is finding profitable inventory just for you. It's not going on a list that a bunch of other sellers see. It's profitable inventory just for you. That's the provenreplensva.com program. I talked to her about that. I talked to her about getting a prep center. We've got a full list of prep centers at prepcenternetwork.com. Another link in the show notes. Completely free service. Take advantage of it. Go get this massive list of prep centers. Maybe use one of them to help you. Instead of shipping all your product that you buy online to your own house, you can ship it to a prep center. They'll handle it for you. Or maybe just use a neighbor across the street, get them trained. That's a great strategy too. So we talk about that and so much more today. I think you're really going to enjoy the time spent with Kim, just another hardworking, great member of our community, a business building warrior who's in the trenches doing the business every day and has built something truly special that's set to really scale based on the progress she's made so far. So enjoy today's episode with my new friend, Kim. So Kim, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
It's my pleasure. This is the best part of my job. I'll tell you, I love these interviews and I'm eager to get into your story. Let's roll.
Sure. I was searching through Facebook one day in my timeline, and one of my old friends had a post and said how they were selling on Amazon. And at the time, I didn't even know Amazon had third-party sellers. I purchased from Amazon almost daily. I thought I was just buying from Amazon.
How long ago was this?
This was in August of 2018. I'm
19.
just
Okay.
2018.
18. I've got you.
18. And I'm listening to this Facebook Live he put on about, all about Amazon FBA and talking about the different parts of it. And I said, well, that sounds really interesting. So I called my husband while he was at work and I said, hey, did you know Amazon does this? And I was a big couponer at the time, and we have so much extra things. I said, how about I just sell some of the things from around our house? And he said, sure, that sounds like a great idea. He knows I come up with these crazy ideas sometimes, so he just appeases me. So I started looking and trying to, figure out on the seller app what I could sell. And at the time, I didn't know anything about gating. So many things I was gated in. But I found a whole box of stuff. I think I had about 45 items I found from around the house that I was allowed to send. So I send them into Amazon, and Amazon lost 75% of my items. And, I didn't have any receipts. I didn't even know how you could argue with them. They said they weren't in the box. So I said, okay, fine. So about a week later, I'm looking on the seller app, and one of my items sold. It was a composition marble copybook I bought for 25 cents, and it sold for $12. And I was ecstatic. And my husband's like, who would buy that for $12? I said, I have no idea, but somebody did.
Someone did. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah. And it just really excited me. So I didn't know who to, talk to about this. I started looking on YouTube. I found these people who claim to be gurus. I was listening to them. And of course, they sell you their programs. So I purchased this one program and I learned absolutely nothing except for they taught you how to do drop shipping.
Oh,
And I
no.
did not know, right? I didn't know you couldn't do drop shipping. So I said, oh, this sounds interesting. And I listed something and it sold and I was able to ship it out. But then the next time it sold, there was no item in stock at the store. So I did find it somewhere else, but it was a higher quantity. And I said, let me send this. And I said, okay, this is not working. So I found another group and I did learn some things in there. But from that group, the owner of that group started talking about a Q4 group that was starting in another group and provided the link to your Q4 group.
Oh,
So
okay.
I said, okay, I said, let me check this out. And I think the program, was like almost $300. And my husband said, I can't believe we're going to spend that on this. And I said, I know, but I really, really want this to work. So I did. And I jumped right in. And oh my gosh, that group, I learned so much. I learned everything I could have even imagined in there. But these sellers, that were in there, they were talking about how much they were selling and things. And I said, oh my gosh, where are they finding these items? How are they finding them? So I kept following what they said. I went to Walmart. I started going to discount stores. I was finding some things, and it was Q4 at this point. And I was selling a pretty good amount. just from discount items and Walmart items. I was finding just from things I learned in this group. I think there was like a private Facebook group that everybody got put in, a messenger group with like be on the lookout items. And I was finding some of them, and it was great. So then, I think January, I had higher sales than I did in December. It was amazing. So then it came to tax time, and I had no idea about business. I didn't know what you could write off. I didn't know my numbers. I go in and we owed so much money in taxes. My husband was not happy with me. So my accountant was, she was familiar with e-commerce, and she's like, listen, you can, get all these numbers together for the next time and it'll really help you. So I said, okay, great. So it's 2019 now, and I'm a nurse, and I was in my PhD program, and I was finishing up. I was taking a break at the time that I started this, but my chair kept saying to me, you really need to finish your dissertation. You just need to get it done. So I had to put Amazon on the back burner. I was still sending in, a few little boxes here and there of things I found at Dollar Tree because I didn't have a professional seller account. So, I was selling things and they were taking, the extra dollar.
Right. It's more expensive because you
It's
sell.
very
Is it
expensive.
still? I think it still is about $1 an item. Unless you have a pro account, you're paying an extra dollar per item fee to sell anything.
Right. At that time, I was sending in maybe 30 items a month. So it didn't really matter to me at the
You were right
time.
at that break even point of it's about $30 a month. So you couldn't quite take the step into pro. Yeah.
Right. So I did finally finish my dissertation, and I graduated in October 2019. So once I was finished, I said, okay, I want to, get back into this Amazon. It's Q4 again. I know how great it was last year. So I'm going to the discount stores, and I said, this isn't working. This isn't going to help me build a sustainable business. And I found the REPLENS group. I think it was when it first came out, was maybe September, October 2019. And I said, okay, it's not that expensive. Let me purchase this and see what it's about. And it just spoke to me. I said,
Mhm.
oh, this is what I was missing.
Yeah.
Going to these discount stores, I can't find the same items when I go the next time. It wasn't making sense. And I said, this is what I was missing. I have to just keep buying the same things over and over that are selling. So I did. I started finding things and, sending in 3 to 5 items at a time. They were selling. And I said, okay, let me send a few more in. And it was working. It just kept rolling over, rolling over. And I did really great at Q4. I had my tax information ready, so we didn't have to pay as much in taxes. So my husband finally said, okay, this is working. You're doing good because my student loans were going to be coming in soon that I had to pay back, and I needed something to pay them. So then COVID hit.
Mhm.
And I was doing all RA. So when I would go to the store, there was nothing on the shelves. I couldn't send anything in. Every one of my replens was missing. When they finally did start coming in, I could get a couple at a time. The prices had gone up. I said, oh my goodness. So finally, in I think July 2020, it started getting better. I was able, to find my replens, add some existing, additional replens to my items. And I said, okay, I'm a full-time educator for nursing. And my work was getting busier and busier. It was harder to get to the store, but I was excited that it was working and I didn't want to give it up. And my husband said, you have to, decide what you want to do. You're going to stay full time or you're going to do this. And I said, I'm going to do both. I'm just going to do both. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start doing OA. I'll give up my RA items unless I'm at the store, I'll pick them up. And I started looking online. It was a slower process, but I finally built up a good amount of replens. Everything was OA. UPS comes here almost every day. Uh, the UPS driver likes to make comments on what I order, says, "Oh, you must really like that stuff." I said, "Oh
That's
yeah, we
great.
do. We do."
Well, let me interject here for just a moment,
Yeah.
Kim. Just I'm kind of thinking through this episode with the ears of maybe someone who's new to our podcast, and I just want to explain some
Sure.
terminology that you've dropped, and we'll get back into your awesome story. I'm really enjoying this. So you mentioned earlier a REPLENS Facebook group. And for
Yes.
those who aren't aware, I'll stick information in the show notes today. But we have a Facebook group. It's over a couple thousand folks in there who are paying monthly. It's not a whole lot of money to hang out with a bunch of other people who are building businesses around the REPLENS concept. And I'll explain what that is here in just a moment as well. But you're also mentioning now that instead of just doing RA, which is retail arbitrage, going to stores, you're doing some OA, which is online shopping, meaning you get to stay home and your UPS guy brings it to your house.
Mhm.
Or, topic I know we're going to hit later in our show today is, do you start using a prep center? Instead of the stuff sitting on your porch, you send it to somebody else's front porch or warehouse, and they do the prep work, put the labels on, put it in a box for you, send it to Amazon. So, what is a replen? Well, I'm not going to dive real deep into that because we talk about it all the time. Pretty much every podcast episode, we talk about it is the low hanging fruit business model that we teach all of our new sellers in our community. You're serving underserved listings on Amazon. We teach you how to find them and then go get the inventory to meet that demand at a profitable rate. It's repeat items, boring items that you sell over and over again on Amazon. Those are replens. We've got a system dialed in for how to do that. That's what Kim's doing, along with thousands of other students in our community. That's our favorite system for selling on Amazon. So I think that gets everybody up to speed if they're new around here so that we're not leaving anyone behind. So, all right, I'll let you pick it up where you left off, Kim. Thank you.
Yeah. So, I really liked the OA model, and it was great. Everything was coming here. We had a system going. I would place orders on Sunday, the same things over and over. And my daughter would help me. My 5-year-old loves to help me with Amazon. She loves putting things into the bags and fastening them. She loves putting the labels on them. And she's really good at it. She's my most helpful child with that.
That's awesome.
Um,
That's
yeah,
going to be great memories for her too. I guarantee it. I remember when my kids were that age. I don't have any that age. I'm 10 years on the other side of any of my kids being that age, but they all remember with fondness helping daddy in his business,
Mhm.
stickers, bags, opening up boxes, taping boxes shut, playing with the boxes. Like it's part of our family, but just incredible, great memory. And it's built an entrepreneurial spirit in all of them. Like work at home, yeah, hey, you can do that. Why not make some? That's how we pay the bills around here. That's how we buy the nice things we have. Is we help others, and so bringing it into your house is beautiful, in my opinion, including your kids. Well done. That's awesome. I love that.
Well, I actually just bought a barcode scanner to make it go a little quicker, and she's loving that part. That's her favorite now, to use that. But I did start doing, OA, and I was buying the same things over and over, but I was so heavy into grocery. That's
Mhm.
For some reason I was automatically ungated in grocery. It wasn't a gated category when I first, started. And I can do grocery so easy for me. I could say, oh, that's a refund. I know it. And that was most of my business. And I said, oh my gosh, I have to somehow get out of this category, expand into other categories. So I saw that you were having the OA Simplified training, and I said, okay, I need to do this. Um, I was part of a small mastermind group, and I'm still in contact with one other seller in that group. And her and I were messaging, and she said, all right, if you're doing all OA, you need to get this. And I said, are you going to do it too? I need someone to talk to about it. And she said, sure. So we did it together. And I joined that. I at first had such trouble with tactical arbitrage. I had no idea what I was doing, but it's so much simpler now after I rewatched the videos that I was doing, because I learned better from watching a few times. And so I started going to other categories. I finally got ungated in two brands for the first time. I mean, I've been selling for about 4 years and was so scared to learn how to get ungated and spend that money that it might not work out. And I said, I'm just going to do it. I found these items on TA that I could sell, make a great profit. And there's not that many sellers. And I did it. And Amazon, the first time it took me 24 hours to get a response, and it was yes. And the second time was 10 minutes. I refreshed my screen and they automatically approved me. So I've been doing, there were clothing brands, and I've been getting really heavy into clothes now. And that's been going great. I started buying some office products and beauty and health and household. So they're the categories I'm in now, but I always go back to grocery. Grocery is
Yeah.
still my favorite.
It,
I have,
there's really low hanging fruit being the operative word there, right? Grocery fruit. But um, the reason it's a challenge is the expiration dates. So that's why
yeah,
some people avoid it. But
yes,
if you can navigate the expiration date issue, oh, there's just so much opportunity in grocery. I just did a podcast interview a couple days ago. As of today, as we're recording this, that episode hasn't even come out yet, but it was with one of our newer students who had found 100 replens in his first 30 days at his local Walmart, primarily in groceries. Just they're everywhere. As long as you monitor your expiration dates, you have to get stuff that's not going to expire anytime soon. Otherwise, it's not qualified. But yeah, they're just everywhere. So yeah,
yeah,
it is easy to drift into that. And we still do a fair amount of grocery in our business too. It's easy money.
it really is. And the one supplier I order most of my items from, they're really good. There's a couple items. Sometimes you'll get iffy expiration dates that, if you send it in, they might only be there for 2 weeks, or they're going to send them back because it's getting closer to that 105 days.
Mhm.
So those ones I'll just keep. But most of their expiration dates are perfect, and I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's good. You got a supplier that takes good care of you there. We're out of our prepping center. It's actually run by a couple. My warehouse where we prep my own Amazon business is run by a couple who also runs the largest food pantry in central Indiana.
Oh
So
wow.
grocery is a great fit. We just
Mhm.
donate it over to them and they handle the paperwork. It's a little tax write off. It's not like we're making money on it, but hey, we got something to do with all these unusual things. If they show up and the expiration date's not worth shipping it back, it's a nice arrangement. So we just forward it on over. But we're making significant profits in grocery as well. And I'm convinced if I just had more time and more shoppers, we could be doing more than we are because it is such a great category. It's very worth getting ungated in. And that's cool that you got ungated so quickly. Sometimes the gating issue is intimidating for new sellers. But the advice I give is sell what you are able to sell, and eventually ungating is a non-issue. The gates just fall open
Yep.
after you've sold. What we typically tell people is once you've sold 40 or 50 items, just go check to see if you're ungated in some things. You probably will with just a click of a button. You're going to get ungated in a lot of things that used to be gated for you. And the worst case scenario, like you mentioned, Kim, is you go buy 10 of that item and you supply the invoice, and that gets you ungated then in
Right.
that
I think
format.
beauty was one of them categories for me that
Yeah.
was gated. And then I found an item, I think through OA, through tactical arbitrage. And I was like, oh, I'm not gated in this. That's strange. So I started buying more items like that. So
Yeah.
I think after you sell a certain amount of time and items and they see, that you're doing well, that they'll
Yeah.
open those for you.
And once you've kind of passed that trust test line, gating just kind of happens automatically. I hate to see people using these companies that charge like $300 to get you ungated in this brand or this category. Like, no, don't do that. It's a waste of money. No need to do that sort of thing. You did mention a couple new terminologies. I'm going to make sure the listeners are keeping up to speed with this, Kim. You mentioned tactical arbitrage, and before that, the OA Simplified course, oasimplified.com. So by the time people are hearing this episode, we're super close to that content being rolled into that training, rolled into the Proven Amazon course, which is, of course, is our collection of all our Amazon training. So sometimes when we have a new course, we'll introduce and roll it out first and separate to people who are really excited to get it. But all the Proven Amazon course students know if they wait 6 months, 9 months, sometimes a little longer, it rolls for free into the constantly improving collection of courses, Proven Amazon course. So that will be added, that oasimplified.com course will be added to the Proven Amazon course within the next few weeks or so after this episode comes out. So definitely go check it out. The creators of that content, Leah and Jessica, are a couple of moms like you, Kim, working from home. But instead of the product coming to their house that they buy online, it's going to a prep center. So they're both running 6-figure sales per month businesses without touching their products. Pretty cool stuff. And they're using a tool called Tactical Arbitrage, which you mentioned. There's a discount on that at silentjimdotcom/TA. We'll stick a link in the show notes. But that's the tool that kind of supports. There's many ways to use tactical arbitrage, but that course teaches you a very specific way to go in and use it to find replens. And that sounds like what you've been doing a fair amount of, getting you into clothes and some other categories you weren't in before. So that's kind of where we left the story off. But again, I don't want to leave anyone behind. So thanks for allowing me to explain a couple things there, Kim. I appreciate it.
Of course. One other thing, and I think you've mentioned this in your group, I found some items that are local to my area
Mm,
to sell on Amazon. And when I first started, my oldest son, he's 24 now, was helping me with the business. And his girlfriend said, "Why don't you sell these?" And I said, "That's a weird thing to sell. I wonder if anybody would like them." And I looked, and the rank was amazing. And it's a food item that you can get in my area and no other area. And people that move from here want those items.
yep.
And I was doing it. I wasn't sending it in FBA. I was shipping it myself. The amount of orders I would get, especially in Q4, because people were ordering them as like holiday items, was insane. I would go to the store with a cart piled up with these items. And the workers were like, the one time said, "Can I take your picture? Because the person that supplies this doesn't believe me that you come in here all the time buying this
You
many
buy all of it.
of these."
Did
Yeah.
you ever tell? So when they said, "What are you doing?" What did you say?
Whenever they asked me, I said, "Oh, they're gifts for the holidays for my family that moved away. I ship them to them." And
Well,
the cashier always remembers me, and she's like, "Oh, are you shipping more of these to your family?" I said, "Yep."
you've got a massive family. Oh my goodness, that's funny, Kim. Have you ever considered, just to kind of go off on a little trail on that story, contacting the manufacturer, building a relationship, maybe helping
I
them sell on
did.
Amazon?
I did, and they were actually more expensive than the store.
Hmm.
I actually found, a local delivery,
Mhm.
truck to my
Yeah.
area, that took these to the store and dropped them off for sale, and I said to him, "Do you think you could bring me cases of them? I could sell them." And his prices, he says, "I cannot beat the store prices." Stores lower these prices to get people into the store, I guess.
And these are locally manufactured items?
Yes.
I would strongly encourage you, unless there's more to the story I don't know yet. Maybe.
Well, I'm not selling them anymore
Oh,
because
okay.
last year I was actually in Jamaica, and I get this email from Amazon that I can't sell them anymore because there was a news article that something happened with, one of a safety issue, they're saying,
Mm.
with one set of these items, one flavor. And so they shut them all down, and I couldn't sell them
The
anymore.
company's out of business?
No, the company's not out of business, just Amazon wouldn't allow us to sell it anymore
I got you. Okay.
because they had a safety concern with one of their flavors of their items.
Well, I would keep an eye on that just to see if things change and to go a little higher over the head of maybe the local truck driver, distributor kind of guy, like go straight to the highest level you can get, because that's an opportunity you may have heard us talk about before, Kim. Maybe maybe not with this specific brand, but just with other brands that you start to notice like, wow, this is really exploding. And you've got a relational or regional advantage of some kind, or you can track down the manufacturer and say, hey, I sell on Amazon. Your product is selling very well. I know that landscape. Let's work together in a cooperative way here where you sell more stuff. I help manage the system. We could set it up on your account, even. That's the proven product partnering strategy. That's one of the modules in the Proven Amazon course. You go to brands, you help them get established, take great looking pictures, et cetera, on their own account. And then you manage it for them and get paid a percent. So now you're not worried about other sellers coming along. You're not worried about the same traditional concerns you have as a reseller. You've got your, for all rights and purposes, your own product. It's not your responsibility to make it, but you're getting paid a cut of the product. So
That's
opportunities like
interesting.
that, I always encourage people to dig deep, dig hard, and try to meet the person who's making the decisions about that brand, especially when it's local. It's a huge opportunity. Not that you missed an opportunity, you made a lot of money off of it, and the opportunity kind of drifted away. But when you see those kind of things in the future, or maybe when this brand makes a comeback and Amazon lets them back on the platform, keep an eye out for them, because brands have a way of fixing those issues and getting back into the public, right? So keep an eye out for that. But well done. I love that story. And some of the
I
best
actually found
stories.
another local item.
What's that?
Um, I found another local brand,
Oh, do
uh,
you?
and I've been selling that. But that's a good idea to contact them.
Yeah, contact them, because that gives you a lead ahead of the other sellers who might also discover the same opportunity. And there's plenty of room for other sellers to sell a profitable product and be on there with you. But it's more advantageous for you to kind of have that dominant relationship, and you're the representative on Amazon now, and help them get brand registered and help them get their content looking great. There's another module in the Proven Amazon course called Proven Brand Building, provenbrandbuilding.com. It's included in the pack bundle. But if you go through that, you can very confidently talk to brands about setting up new listings and looking make them look good. Because as resellers, we don't do a lot of that sort of thing, right?
Right.
But you can help them get their own Amazon account, and Amazon's paying them, and then they're paying you a percent of the checks that they get. That's just an exciting way to handle those brands, or just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, obviously, it's going great, but it's a way to kind of think of it as you're launching these multiple streams. You've got this castle of your income here, and you build a little moat around that castle. Then you set up another castle, and you build a little moat around that one. So you've got these streams of income where it's not all relying on one specific strategy to continue to maintain your income and grow. Hopefully that makes sense, Kim.
Good idea. Mhm.
Beautiful. Well, you're doing a great job. I'm loving your story. So keep us going. What else is working for you, or what challenges you hitting?
So my challenges right now is what you talked about. I'm not sure. I just hit 20,000 a month. I, um, you know, don't know if I should go the prep center way or get a coach to branch out into other categories. Because, like I said, I have dabbled in a few other categories, but mainly grocery. So
Mhm.
I'm just not sure where to go from here. I mean, I could
Well,
keep
if
doing
you've
it.
done some
Keep
grocery,
training.
if you've done some grocery and clothes, you can get into any category you want at this point, I would imagine. Have you ever checked out an item to see if you're eligible for it? Just using the Seller Central app, and scanned it, and it said, "Oh, you're not eligible to sell this. Would you like to apply?" And you click, "Yes, I'll apply," and boom, you're automatically approved. Has that happened to you yet?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. That's not what I mean. I'm just not, I have a PhD, but I'm not smart in finding other items in different categories, I feel like.
I got you. You don't feel like you've developed the instincts necessary?
Right. Right. To say, oh, maybe this would be something good to send in. It's in a different category.
I
Because I
got you.
haven't created my own listings. I piggyback on every listing.
I don't
Um,
create listings ever either. But a lot of
so
the top sellers in our community don't. To my knowledge, Jimmy Smith, the guy that created the REPLENS course, has yet to create a new listing on Amazon. It's just not necessary. There's so many great listings you can sell against.
right.
So let's set that aside as a separate topic. Launching your own branded bundle at some point. That's what that proven brand building course helps you with as well. Not only can it help you with helping other businesses get their brands on there and set up listings, but setting up your own listings too. Provenbrandbuilding.com. It's a module in the pack. Okay. But let's talk about the skill set required to find great replens in other categories besides the ones that you've already been in. I've got really good news for you, Kim. This is more of a mental block than it is a skill set challenge. Okay. Because that exact same skill set that you're using to analyze those grocery items, look at them on Keepa, look at the history, look at how many sales per month. Can I squeeze in next to these other sellers and make a profit or not reasonably a few times per month, making some sales? That same skill set translates into every other category on Amazon. The product that you're holding in your hand is, it's irrelevant what it is, what it does. You don't even need to know how it works or what's in the box. It's a barcode with Keepa data associated with it. Whether it's a clothing item or a canned good, it doesn't matter. I'm into all kinds of crazy hardware items right now. And I look at images of these things. I have no idea. One of them is just a flat bar of steel. It's like a heavy flat bar. Like, who buys this? Who would ever need this? I know nothing about this product category, but I do know that particular ASIN, that particular product on Amazon, is a hot replen for us. We sell 5 or 6 a week, I would say, at $10 to $15 net profit. I don't care who's using it, why they're buying it, what it does. I don't need to know, right? So push back on that if you'd like. Like, I hear you, Jim, but, what would you put in that blank?
No, I hear you. I think that's my mental block. I'm like looking at an item and I'm saying, what is that? No one's going to buy that. And I just pass by. I can't. Just doing OA. Maybe if I was doing RA, maybe I'd be like, all right, let me just scan it or type it in and see if it does anything. But yeah, like when I'm looking at items, I usually look up the ones that I probably would buy. But that's what I have to get over that hurdle to
Yeah.
just say, okay, here's an item. Maybe somebody would buy it.
You go back to that first experience of that first item that sold for $12, and you and your husband looked at each other and said, who in the world would buy that for $12? Right. So that's a funny thought to have. But the sooner you move away from caring, that's an irrelevant question. I don't care who or why or what that product does. All I know is they were happy to pay $12 for it. Let's go find another one if we can. It doesn't matter what it is. As long as it's not immoral, unethical, or, goes against my values, I will sell it to happy customers all day, every day without hesitation. I don't care what category it's in. So even that whole category mentality that we have about Amazon, like, oh, there's food category and there's home goods category and there's toy category. Like, there's no categories in my mind. There's no need for categories. It's either a good replen that I'm going to expect to sell a few per month at a nice profit, or it's not. I don't care what category it's in. That's irrelevant to me. The process is exactly the same. Hey, sorry for the short interruption, but you're going to love what I have to share with you. Let's talk about Seller Board. As an Amazon seller, do you know your numbers? Are you tracking your profit and loss by ASIN, cost of goods sold? How accurate are your numbers? Seller Board helps you get extremely accurate. Starting at just $15 per month, you can know when to buy products, when not to buy products, which ones are profitable, which ones aren't. You can really start to dial in your Amazon business. Get over to silentjimdotcom/numbers and check out the latest fantastic sponsor to this program. So many Amazon sellers in our community are using it. I'm thrilled that they've become a sponsor of this program. Thanks, Seller Board. Go check out their offer, silentjim.com/numbers. There's no need for categories. It's either a good replen that I'm going to expect to sell a few per month at a nice profit, or it's not. I don't care what category it's in. That's irrelevant to me. The process is exactly the same.
Right.
So you don't need a coach to tell you that. I just told you that.
That's true.
So I'm looking at
the prep center, though. Do you
yes,
think
prep center and hiring a virtual assistant, possibly, because one of the things I'd like to get into, and I think the listeners would benefit from this, is just talk me through how you do find new replens. What are you doing to find profitable products? And let's hit that. Then we'll talk about prep centers and virtual assistants for a couple minutes. But I want to hear you kind of talk me through and describe that process.
Okay, well, I don't want you to think I'm a bad Amazon seller, but I did not purchase Keep It until I think June of this year.
Well, that's a big advantage. $20 a month. You were really doing a lot of unnecessary work.
Right. I was just typing it in, and I think I was in my the group, um, with other sellers, and they were like, "What do you mean you don't have Keep It?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know how to use it, so I just never purchased it. I just look and I'm like, oh, the rank looks good. Let me get it." And
Mhm.
most of the time, I did okay with it. There was a few bad buys along the way. I was going to these discount stores, and I'm like, "Oh, it looks like it's selling." Um, so I finally purchased it. I figured out how to use it. I followed Brian Olson's method for a little bit, and I said, "Oh my gosh, why did I never have this? How do you
Yeah.
not sit here all day finding things? How do you not want to sit there all day finding all of these items?"
Yeah.
So that's what I do now. That and OA. I do, tactical arbitrage. I just type in different categories with different stores. I do go back to the same stores that I'm comfortable with. I have to learn how to branch out of that too. And just keep running scans and saying, okay, let's get this, let's try this. Um, but before that, I was just, oh, that looks like something I would buy. Let me see if it's on Amazon and see if anybody else is buying it. That used
Sure.
to be my method.
Yeah. And that's how a lot of people did e-commerce for a very long time. It's just become completely unnecessary.
Right.
And for those who are confused about why we love Keepa or what that is, go back and listen to podcast episode 369. Have you ever listened to that episode by any chance, Kim, that you recall? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No,
That's
I'll
your
have.
homework. I mean, you know what Keepa is and you've come to rely on it. But not to add any salt to the wound of how long you waited to start using that tool, but that podcast episode 369 really breaks down what it is that Keepa does that no other tool does. And in briefest possible fashion, basically they track the product rank over time of millions, tens of millions, probably more than that, probably hundreds of millions, I don't know at this point, of different products on Amazon. And the value of that, as you now know, Kim, is it's one thing to look at a product rank and go, hey, as of today, right now, at 5 o'clock p.m. on a Friday, it's ranked X. It must be a decent seller. Well, what you don't know is what was it ranked yesterday, a week ago, 3 weeks ago? What's the daily rank pattern over the past 6 months? And if you see that rank bouncing up and down, I don't care if it's a great rank or a low rank. I don't care. If I see it bouncing up and down, I know, as you now know, Kim, each drop in rank represents at least one sell of that product. One sale was made. And if
Right.
you can start to estimate with accuracy how many times per month a product sells, which Amazon won't tell you that, all the other tools on the market are using data that Amazon provides to anybody who wants to create a tool. And they're all using the same set of data. Well, not Keepa. Keepa gets its own data. They track the product rank and help you estimate with extreme accuracy about how many times per month the product sells. That is a powerful asset to have in your decision making arsenal when you're deciding what to buy and what not to buy. So, as you now know, Kim, that Keepa is a must have. And the fact that you grabbed it in June, I've got to imagine that's about when things started to kind of take off as far as you being confident about what the winners and losers were in your inventory. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
I've definitely been ramping up since then. Another feature I love about it is the buy box part,
Mhm.
because if you see Amazon's on this great listing and you're like, oh, should I buy it? You can see that Amazon does share the buy box. So if it looks like Amazon shares the buy box, I'll buy it.
Mhm.
But if it looks like 100% of the time Amazon's on there, I will stay away.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that even for just a moment, because sometimes, and as a rule of thumb, you're right, 90%, maybe 85, 90% of the time, if Amazon dominates the buy box. But what I will look at is, are there other sellers hanging in there with Amazon? Sometimes that's a clue. Like, what are they doing? How are they making any sales? You will have regional advantages, even over Amazon itself at times, on the hottest moving products. And here's what I mean. I'll take you through a scenario, Kim, and this is a little bit of content for the sellers who've been around a while. If you're new around here, this might be a little over your head, but hang with me on this example. Let's say it's a hot moving product that Keepa says it drops 50 times a month. Typically, it's going to be 35, 40 or more times per month for this rule to even apply. So we got a fast mover. Keepa says 50 times a month, which we know as experienced users of Keepa, that represents probably at least 250 to 500 sales a month of that product, right? And Amazon dominates the buy box. But it's still worth testing. If I can go in at a price higher than Amazon, say Amazon's selling for 20 bucks, I can't make a profit unless I sell it for 30. I'm going to still go in at $30 and list a couple units against that ASIN if it's a fast mover, simply because Amazon most likely has all of its inventory in a couple different warehouses. Let's say one's in LA, one's in Chicago, and they're shipping them all from there. And my two little units end up somewhere in, say, New Orleans, right? But since it's such a fast mover, the odds of someone in a zip code near New Orleans ordering one and wanting it fast is pretty high. So what are they going to buy?
Right.
The one from Amazon that's going to take a day and a half, 2 days to get there, or the one from me that can be on their front porch 2 hours from now because it's a Prime Now area. You with me? So even if Amazon's dominating the buy box at a price lower than you can make a profit, those are still ASINs worth testing because of those regional advantages that you can get into. And once you have that aha moment of the regional advantage of the slightly higher priced seller, you with 2 or 3 units sitting in the warehouse, it's free money. It's easy money. Now you're only getting a fraction of the sales of that product. You get less than 1% of the time are you the one actually winning the sale, and you never win the buy box.
Right.
But you are getting enough sales to justify calling that one of your replens that you're selling 2 or 3 times a month against a product that sells 500 times a month. You're 2 or 3 of those sales. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're right, because I bought a few clothing items and I didn't even realize Amazon was on there when I purchased them. And
Mhm.
then I said, oh my gosh. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to send them in anyway, because what am I going to do with them?
Did you send them in at a nice price? Profitable
I
for you?
way higher than Amazon,
Mhm.
because Amazon's prices it at the price you buy it at, basically.
Mhm.
And I sent it in and they sold pretty quick. And I said, oh, Amazon's so nice. They're sharing the buy box with me.
That's not
Must
it.
have
It's not that
been
Amazon's
better.
being nice and friendly. That is not it. It's the
Yeah.
zip code advantage that your product had over Amazon.
I said to my husband, I said, oh, the Amazon must share on clothing items here.
Nope. Amazon is a emotionless robot of efficiency. So I mean, to put yourself in the customer's shoes, right? You've
Right.
got a nice event tomorrow night. You really want this piece of clothing to accentuate what you're going to wear in your outfits. You're on Amazon. You're like, okay, here's all the my options. I can buy it from Amazon. It's going to take 2 days to get here. I can buy it from this seller who's 40% higher, but I really need this thing. Okay, I'll pay an extra $8. It'll be on my porch 2 hours from now. Awesome. So you buy it. That never shows up in the buy box. Never shows up on Keepa. There's never a point of data that even shows up for that. But you still won the sale because it's a fast. And the reason I say fast moving products only is because if it's a slow moving product, it could take 6 months or a year for that scenario to play out, and you're paying storage fees at that point.
Mhm.
But on the fast moving products, jump in at a nice price and you will be amazed at what happens most of the time. And if it doesn't happen, okay, drop the price down, sell it at break even, maybe you lose a couple dollars, but how often you're going to win more than offsets that.
Right.
Yeah, that should give you a great deal
I'll
of
tell you,
confidence.
most of the items I'm buying now, I don't pay storage on because they sell so quickly.
Mhm.
The best items I have are the ones that are still on my porch waiting for UPS to pick up and they sold.
Yep. Yeah. And those are everywhere. How many replens would you say you have right now?
Right now, I have close to 200 because I can't keep them in stock. Some of them, I
Yeah.
just as soon as I ship them, they sell before they're even in stock because they always have me ship to a warehouse that doesn't ship from. It's just a distribution, and they transfer everything, but
Mhm.
they sell as soon as they get there or while they're in transport.
Have you
Most of
considered selling a few merchant fulfill to kind of keep the wheels turning?
I haven't. I really don't like merchant fulfilling. I do for the local items,
Yeah.
that are just easy for me to pick up and send them out. But I try to just send everything in FBA because I'm so busy with work. I have four
Hmm.
kids. My
Hmm.
grandson's here half the time.
Yep.
I just don't have time to run a UPS and drop off the box.
So let's start moving you towards working on your business instead of in your business a little bit. You want to talk about that?
Sure, I would love to.
And you know what I mean by that, right? Where you're just kind of the one managing the numbers instead of the one putting tape on boxes. And you can still have fun and do as much of it as you want and hang on to a few hours a week of that work. But let's talk about automating this thing because you were talking about prep centers earlier. I think a virtual assistant possibly. And while you absolutely could benefit from a coach right now, there's plenty of work you could do on your own that I don't think I'm going to push you in that direction at all. I think it's a matter of you carving out more free time. And once you feel like you've got some margin, then you're like, okay, I want to add some commas and zeros and talk to someone who can really, talk about the kind of the next level. The decisions you're making, let me illustrate this way. The decisions you make when you're going from zero to $1,000 in sales per month are very different than the decisions you make going from 1,000 to 10,000 a month. And those decisions are very different from 10 to 50. And then the 50 to 200 are very different, right? So let's get you up to kind of that next year at 20,000 a month. Now you can get to 30 easy with what you know, working less, making more money. And then maybe at that point, you're going, okay, I'm going to get a coach to take me from 30 to 60, 30 to 100. But you can get to 30 based on what you know now while working fewer hours. Here's the people I think you need to add into your life. You're finding plenty of profitable product, but you're doing it yourself. I think getting someone else that's doing that role, you're not that far from it. You could use Proven REPLENS VA, our PRV program. I'll stick a link in the show notes if you want to check that out, have a conversation about that. That's a $4 an hour worker in the Philippines. He uses the same strategies you do all day, every day, except they're doing it while you sleep and they can do it 8 hours a day. It costs you
Right.
$30 a day to replace yourself on that skill set. That's pretty amazing. And they've got a lot more products to show for it. You got someone else maybe helping buy those products even, right? This is where folks like Leah and Jessica, the ones who taught the OA Simplified course, that's how they stepped away. They've got sourcers, they've got shoppers, they've got people doing this piece, and the product doesn't come to their front porch. This might be another really low hanging piece of fruit. Maybe the first thing you do is find a neighbor, find somebody who wants a little extra work, get them integrated into your business. It's going to feel like more work on your desk at first, but once you finally move it off and move it over to the single lady across the street with some extra time on her hands who could really use a $12 an hour job, right? You've got them integrated into your business now. You can start doing some merchant fulfill on some of your hottest items, for example, right? These items that right now you're just sending in because you don't want the inconvenience. And so now you've got a 5 day or 14-day wait where you're not selling any of that item because it's all in transit. But what if you could sell some from merchant fulfill in the meantime? So you keep back half the inventory, merchant fulfill, and the other half goes into FBA, and you're able to make sales every day. So they've got work every day. They're shipping stuff out. You're not seeing it or touching it. You've got this person that you've trained. Take you a couple hours to train somebody on this. And if they have questions, say just don't do anything unless you're sure. Text me if you're not sure, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. You're busy. You got a lot going on. They're not over there making 100 mistakes a day. They're over there doing the things they know need done, doing it the right way. Not hard to do. It's really not a hard transition to make. So I think that's maybe the lowest hanging fruit thing you could do. So a virtual assistant or having someone near you prep, or let's say that. I love that. I'm a programmer at heart. Right? You could do all of these things, or you could do any one of them. You could use a prep center. Go to prepcenternetwork.com, find a prep center. I'm writing myself some notes, so I stick links to all of this in the show notes today. Find a prep center where you're, instead of shipping the stuff to your house, you could ship it to them. And now they're handling the bulk of the load instead of the UPS driver showing up at your house 6 days a week. He's only showing up 2 days a week. You're keeping the stuff you want to keep. The rest is going the easy, low hanging fruit stuff, the boring prep, easy. Anybody could do it. Send it to a prep center. Pay a little bit of money per unit and just have them put the stickers on and handle all that. it's an easy decision to make. These things, I think the holdup sometimes, especially for new entrepreneurs, is we have this perception of taking these steps is going to be like this 3 week long, painful back and forth. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Do I even have the time? When in reality, what you'll discover very quickly is it's a it's a few hours on the first day, and then it's a couple hours over the course of the next couple of weeks, dialing it in, and then it's off your desk. And it really wasn't that hard. Like, why did I wait? Is the
Yeah.
theme of most people when I have these conversations. Like, why did I wait? Kind of like with Keepa, if you can believe me, like how much better would your business be right now if you'd have got Keepa, say, instead of June 2020, you got it in June 2019 and you understood it then? Like, where would you be now? This is the same conversation. Let's automate, that $20 a month that you spend on Keepa. I was like, yeah, that's a no brainer. It paid for itself like within the first 2 minutes of me understanding what it does. These outsourcing these tasks is the same way. It pays for itself so fast. It's not a new expense. It's an investment, very different, where you're actually
Right.
making
I
more money
just
doing less
realized
work.
I did just do a month of replan dashboard, and I just realized I could be making more money, but I wasn't sending in enough inventory. Like the replans I have were
Mhm.
going out of stock, and it was taking me long to get them, send them in because I'm slower once I'm doing it all myself to get
That's right.
everything in.
Yeah,
So
yeah. You are ripe to scale, and that just means think of it this way in very plain terms. You've built a system that turns $5 bills into $10 bills. Let's say, right? You've got a system that does that. So now your constraint is how fast can I make that system work? Right now, it takes me, let's say, 6 days to turn $5 into $10. What if I could do it in 3 days? What if I could do it in one day? Well, it's not a matter of you just not sleeping or eating or ever seeing your kids. That's one option, but it's not the best. Better option is for you to build a system that does that, putting other people in place to handle those parts. And now you could be like the coaches on our team, Gary and Gay, mostly. They travel the country in their RV and check their numbers because they've got an entire team of virtual assistants and other prep centers that manages the whole process. And when there's a problem, they get an alert like, hey, I got a little problem. That shipment you wanted us to get out today, it's going to be tomorrow instead. Is that okay? We'll give you a little discount on the next invoice. Yeah, sure. All good. Instead of you being the one that spent 8 hours prepping it, and having to change your Friday plans to Saturday plans because it showed up early or whatever. It's someone else's inconvenience, and they're just keeping you updated on the process, right? That's building systems. And that's the only thing you're lacking to really, I think, just based on the replens you have right now and finding a few more per week at the pace you've been doing it, someone else could do that part. You've got the entire skill set needed for a $50,000 a month business right now. It's just a matter of, like you said, you're using a replen dashboard, which is a great tool. I'll stick a link in the show notes for the listeners that kind of shows, hey, this ASIN, you should be buying 10 or 15 next time instead of one or two. Like, this thing's smoking. Did you realize that? And so it's advising you on and you're starting to realize, wow, if I just had more time, that's your constraint, right? So how do you get more time? Not by working harder, sleeping less, by hiring in the right $4 an hour, $12 an hour worker, a prep center. That's how you get more time. And now you're working less, making more money.
yeah, that's what I need to do.
Yep. That's the path forward. It
I mean,
definitely
I was
is.
working this morning. I found 10 new replens to test. I just ordered, so I'm waiting for them to get here. And it's just fun. I just love finding these things.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it remains fun to me. I've been doing it for years, 20 years. This is the only income my family's had is e-commerce and related activities. But any given day that I've got some free time, I'm like, what do I want to do with myself? I could get in the car, go to stores, do some research. I've got Keepa there, got RevSeller on this, on my laptop in the car, maybe, and just find a bunch of new replens. It's a total blast. I'm finding new little income streams for my family. And to have it dialed into the point where, I know where it's going to go to be prepped. I'm not the guy that's going to be prepping it and managing all that. I've got a different role in my business now. But that's what you need to do is the chase after some of those processes that are dragging you down realizing what you're worth per hour and paying someone else to take over some of those tasks. Starting with, you're really good at finding replens. So you may not need a virtual assistant to do that for you yet. I would kind of say that the low hanging fruit for you is the prep. Get someone else, maybe near you or one of the prep centers. But I like working with someone nearby, creating a job for someone you can trust nearby and getting them kind of involved because that person could potentially be a shopper as well. You've got a lot of local things going on. They could be the one going and filling up the shopping cart. It's like, hey, we got someone else that buys all these all the time too. It's like, yeah, actually, I work with them. And one little thing to go back to that story for a second, Kim, I would encourage you on this is, I've seen these scenarios play out hundreds of times in this community now where people say, yeah, I'm filling a shopping cart. Well, what do you say to the manager? We got all the funny things you can say and all the jokes and all the kind of try to avoid the real topic. But I've found more consistently, more often than not, the best answer to give in those scenarios is the exact 100% truth. I'm reselling these to people all over the world. It's a great item. I wish I could get more at a better price. I'd stop clearing your shelf if you could help me with that. And the manager's like, "Oh, I actually went to high school with the guy that owns the company. Yeah, do you want his card?" Right? Versus, yeah, I've got a big family and gray and fuzzy answer here. It just those relationships tend to pay off. Be proud of what you do, own it, be the person that knows how to use e-commerce so your phone will ring with other opportunities that you weren't expecting. And I've just found that more often than not, it pays off to just say straight up. And for every cashier that's like, is that even legal for you to buy stuff here and then sell it online? You can give them a little short education about how economics work. I've done that before. I've been in stores with a cart full of stuff. Like, what is all this for? Why'd you buy, 42 boxes of crackers? I'm like, I'm going to resell them online. Is that legal? I'm like, that's what you do for a living. What do you mean? I've even said to the cashier, I'm like, do you think Walmart paid more or less than I did for this box of crackers today? And they're like, I never thought of it that way. I'm like, that's how economics works. So yeah, just be bold, be proud of it. But well, what else is on your mind, Kim? I kind of launched into education mode, but hopefully it's been helpful for you.
That's it. I'm just loving it. I'm loving the group. Your group is the first one I found that they're just so supportive. Like everybody in there will answer your question. They're respectful, most of them, and they just want to help each other. And the courses you come out with, I just keep buying them and buying them when they come out because I'm like, oh, that speaks to me. Like when the replens, when I listened to Jimmy, his thing, and I said, oh, that makes sense. That's when it clicked for me. So, thank you for, just having these classes and not stealing people's money, basically. Like I did in the beginning. I spent so much money trying to learn something from people who just took my money.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sorry you had that experience. Yeah, we've got a commitment around here. We've been doing e-commerce education for come up on 20 years. And our commitment is if we're going to charge money for something, that it better very quickly deliver 10x value of what the person just paid, or it's not something we're going to get behind. And so, with that commitment, we've said no to 95% of the ideas that float across our desk around here. Trust me, we're approached constantly. If you've got an audience, you got plenty of people who would like to get their idea or product in front of that audience. So, we say no all day, every day around here and only roll out, we love that word proven. It's the name of our conference, it's the name of our course, proven. What's proven mean? It means it's been tested. It's working for a lot of other people. We've got the evidence. Now we're going to show it to the crowd, so to speak. And thank you for being part of our community, Kim. This has been a great discussion today.
It's great. Yeah. And actually, I think when I purchased the first Q4 program, I was so scared. I'm like, oh, this is a lot of money to put out again. Is it really going to work? But I think there was a money back guarantee. He said, if you're not satisfied, just contact me. And I said, oh, okay, I'll do it
Yeah,
then.
absolutely. Contact
But
me personally if you want. Jim
I think
Cockrum at
what I
Gmail.
learned in 1 week was worth the money.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome to hear. Yeah. And those Q4 groups, basically, at provenq4plan.com. I'll stick a link there. We're not letting anyone else in this year.
Right.
Obviously, we're
Laid
recording this
down.
in, later November of 2022, but we'll do it again next year, most likely. But the opportunity kind of peaks around the fourth quarter of the year, the last 3 months of the year. So we have a lot of people that get excited. So we kind of bring them all in together and walk them through. But the process is the same year round. The proven Amazon course concepts are the same year round. The REPLENS business is boring and works just as well as you notice. January, February sales are just as good as December for many of our students
I think
because
year after year,
boring.
January is my highest month if I go back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Replens, selling those boring items. December people spend a lot of money online, but they're shopping year round now. And the replens business and selling those boring everyday products, that's the way to go.
Well, I think this is the first year I haven't bought any holiday items. I'm
Hmm.
just doing my replens. I said
Yep.
I don't have the time to go out and look. And I said just to my husband the other day, I'm like, I don't feel like it's Q4 because I'm not at the stores. I'm
Hmm.
not standing in these lines. I'm not having the full carts coming in. But then I'm looking at my sales every day and I'm like, oh, yeah, it's Q4.
Yeah.
And that's just with my boring grocery replens, nothing to do with holidays.
Yes. That's a beautiful part of this business is you can, if you want to, go out and chase the 40% off, today only sales and flip that stuff. You can, I call it the hamster wheel. And if you hustle, there's money to be made. And sure, get up early, stay up late. But I'd rather build a system that works just as well for me in the middle of August as it does, November 22nd and
Right.
the middle of Q4 shopping frenzy. I want that system. And that's what we teach folks how to build. But you can certainly add all that other on if you have to. But you're busy. You're a nurse educator. You've got kids, grandkids, and a busy life. You want to build a system, and that's what you have built. And let me just congratulate you and encourage you. The fact that you're at 20,000 in sales per month right now. The work that you've put in, the foundation that you've built, the game doesn't change a whole lot for you to go to 50 or 80 or 100. Your routine
And
doesn't even, if anything, you're going to be forced to work fewer hours as your numbers go up.
right.
You've
And it
got the
is hard
foundation.
work. Like sometimes when I talk to people about this, they're like, oh, so I just find this and then I make all this money. I'm like, no, like you have to put the work into it. You can't just be like, okay, I need this system. Somebody has to teach it to me. Tell me what to buy. No, you have to find it on your own. It's hard work in the back end. But then you just keep buying the same things over and over. Once you do that work, then it's easy. You just have a shopping list,
Yep.
you're ordering it, it's coming to my house, and I'm shipping it back out.
Yep. And soon it's going to be a neighbor's house or a prep center. And soon you're going to have a virtual assistant who's
My
funding these
husband would
things
love
all day, every day for you.
my dining room is overflowing. I'm looking at it now because
That's not
tomorrow's prep
sustainable.
day.
That's not sustainable. That's what we call that season of intense focused effort and inconvenience. That's not sustainable though. You can go a year, two, three, maybe your spouse starts to get a little like, what are we doing here? This is going to get out of our house sometime, right? So it's just not necessary to. And I've met these people. I've known good friends of mine who did that out of their house for a couple decades, and it just kind of eats at you. You want to have your houses, and now for short periods of time, it's a beautiful thing. It's a great thing to go through as a family, but as a lifestyle over the long term, no, you want to scale out of that and enjoy the benefit of what you've built and automate, and your margins will creep down a little bit as you do this, but your time freedom and the scale. Think of it this way: I'd rather have 10% of $1 million pie than 20% of $1,000 pie.
Right.
So I'll take a little smaller percent of a bigger pie, and that's what you've got to. That's how you think as a system builder. What are your margins, by the way, on that 20,000? I don't think we mentioned.
Right. So after they're 25%, but then after, I take into account all my prep stuff and my TA and replens group and thing, they're down to about 22%. I don't
Gotcha.
spend too much on prepping items. I get a lot of free boxes because I get a lot of deliveries.
Yep.
And things like that. So it's more tapes and bags and labels and things like that. So
Sure. Well, you're tracking numbers really well now. The accountant has taught you well, huh?
uh, uh, yes, I have an Excel spreadsheet. I go item by item. I add it up each month. I break it down by month. I break it down by quarter. And I just got inventory lab this month. So
That's
I
going to
just wanted
create
to
some
check.
convenience for you as well. I'll stick a link as well to that in the show notes. But a lot of Replen sellers use Inventory Lab to help them know their numbers and track.
Well,
Um,
really quickly, the reason I got it was because I do not like the send to Amazon feature
mhm. Yeah,
for my shipments. It was taking a really long time. It kept disappearing, my shipments, when I wasn't doing it quickly enough. And I said, I'm just getting Inventory Lab. I'll pay the money just for the convenience because it was taking so long and so much easier to create a shipment in there.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
know
It is.
people say it in the group over and over and over. And I kept saying, I'm not spending money on that. I'm not spending that money.
Yeah. Well, that's the part of your brain that serves you very well as like a family budgeter. Like, no, we're not buying that. No, we can't afford that right now. We're not going to spend money on that. And those are wants and needs. But when it comes to business investing, you got to flip a different part of your brain on that we don't use a whole lot in everyday life until you're an entrepreneur. And that is $50 a month. Well, who would spend money on that? Well, you know what? Actually, it's going to put about $500 a month in your pocket starting instantly. Yeah, it makes sense to spend that $50 a month, right? Because it's an investment in making your business run more efficiently and scale. So yeah, you're on a great path. Your trajectory is tremendous. As I'm fond of saying from time to time to some guests, if you were a stock, I would buy some right now. Like your trajectory is beautiful, and you've built an amazing business. And congratulations to you. Great work.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a long road, but I'm finally getting it. And I just want to keep going forward.
Well, you're doing a tremendous job, and it was great hanging out with you a little bit today, Kim.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to talk to the listeners for just a moment, and unless there's anything else on your mind, Kim, did you have any notes or anything that we needed to hit? We good?
That's all I wanted to talk about was, how to scale up.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for doing that with us today. Well, to the listeners who hung out with Kim and I today, thank you for giving us a very valuable gift, your time. We really appreciate that. Thanks for hanging out with us. And we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment, send us your feedback, jump into the Facebook group. There'll be a link at silentjimdotcom, and you can jump into our group there and leave a comment on today's show or anything that we left out, questions you have. We'd love to help you out. But let me just remind you a couple things before I wrap this episode up. One is we really love getting reviews and subscribers on iTunes. So if you happen to be listening to us on iTunes today, that would be a huge favor. Leave us a review there or subscribe. Click the little bookmark looking thing on iTunes, and that gets you subscribed so you never miss an episode. That really helps us in the rank, and it helps us get this message in front of new listeners. Because we have a $0 marketing budget, you are our marketing team. So spread the word. Thanks for doing that. And on behalf of the entire team, the coaches, the administrators, the moderators, my tremendous guest, again, today, Kim, you did a great job. Thank you, my
Oh,
friend.
thank you. I talk fast sometimes, but
No, I thought it was tremendous. It was a great episode. Thank you so much. And everyone else who goes into helping put these episodes together, God bless all the business building warriors out there. We will have another great episode for you again very soon. Talk to you then. Hey, thanks for listening today. Before I let you go, one last announcement. I want to remind you about our great sponsor, Seller Board. Get to silentjim.com/numbers, and you'll see the special offer they have for you. Starting at just $15 per month, you can get the most accurate tracking, the best analytics tool for your Amazon seller account. And not only does it help you track your numbers and know when you're profitable or not on each ASIN, it also gives you additional features such as managing your inventory, getting reimbursements for FBA errors, staying informed about listing changes, and optimizing your pay-per-click campaigns. A bunch of robust features for just a few dollars. It's a great tool. Many successful sellers in our community are using them, especially loving the way that they help you know if you're profitable or not, keeping track of all those different fees. Hey, go check out Sellerboard, silentjim.com/numbers. We'll talk to you next time.